let me just start off by telling you how much I loved Dead Boy Detectives. I loved it. This is like a genre that I adore, and I felt like a Buffy shaped hole in my heart for like a decade. It is now full. I am a full stan.
Oh, great.
I mean, it does the thing I love, which is it takes like a group of weirdos and it creates a found family out of them, and then they solve supernatural crimes. Like, I don't feel like that's too much to ask out of.
Oh, that's what we've been saying, literally.
Also, I love the characters. You know, I want to start with you, George. Like, Edwin is like breaks my heart, has a piece of my heart. But because I feel like so many of his troubles really just stem from his inability to connect with like his identity or accept his identity. And that feels like there's a lesson in there. Can you talk a little bit about like what you hope audiences take away from that?
Yeah, of course I can. I think, you know, we meet Edwin at a time where he's very much repressed. You know, he's the most intelligent one of the gang, but when it comes to emotional intelligence and awareness and perhaps self-awareness, he's not so versed. And I think, we meet him at a time where he's the product of his circumstances. You know, he comes from a time period where it was very repressed. You know, even displays of affection between, you know, a man and a woman would be frowned upon. So there's a lot of baggage there. And then Crystal comes along and kind of opens the floodgates, which leads Edwin to experience jealousy around Charles's other connections. And then we meet the Cat King, and there's a lot of awakenings for Edwin, and arguably an unraveling. And he's, you know, he can't really keep up. He doesn't have the skill set to keep up with that,
which is ironic for Edwin, because he normally keeps up with especially when it comes to work. He's like so caught up with
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And I think, you know, ironically, he's the character with three love interests: the Cat King, Monty, and Charles.
Basically, Edwin's irresistible.
Yeah,
and I mean,
yeah.
You can see why, right?
I don't know about this. This is a filter.
A lot of makeup.
But then we have that scene in episode 7 with Edwin and Simon, you know, either side of the despair scene. And I think that's such a crucial moment in terms of Edwin's own journey with his identity, because I think he realizes in that moment, you know, I can't live my life or exist without regrets. I need to express how I feel. I need to communicate. My mum's always said, actually, communication is key. And, you know, then there's that desperate scene on the staircase where, you know, Edwin doesn't know if he's about to be snatched away again. And it just sort of vomits out, like, I'm in love with you. And it's a real discovery of love for Edwin. I think to label it as a sexual awakening, I don't think, it's not that it's reductive. I just don't think it's entirely accurate. I think it goes deeper than that.
It's so much more than that.
I think this is a real discovery of love for Edwin. You know, he comes from parents who wouldn't have even hugged him. And we're seeing this kid learn to love and learn how much he wants to be loved for the first time.
Yeah, it's really moving. I feel like I don't want to spoil things for people, but I do feel like the Edwin that we know when the credits roll at the end there's a part of him that is healed. And I think that's really, really powerful. And I'm really, really excited for like other people who are, you know, facing similar struggles, or maybe have some growing to do on this front, are really going to connect with that journey and that healing journey. So similarly, Jayden, I mean, when we first meet Charles, he seems like this unflappable optimist. You know, he is sort of the joy in every room. But as we kind of, again, I think Crystal coming in, sort of cracking that dynamic a little bit, we're allowed to see kind of what's underneath the surface, which is a lot of like anger and sadness. And again, it feels like there's a lesson in that. Can you talk a little bit about that part of your character and that dynamic?
I mean, for me, when I first read the pilot, I thought the same as you. I was like, God, this guy is just happy about everything. I was like, he can't find, like, even if it was the worst situation, this guy would still smile and find the good out of the situation. And I totally agree. And then once I also read the scripts and I saw this kind of deep-rooted trauma that he has, you know, I think it says a lot for teenage boys these days. For me personally, I think, you know, a lot of us put on like a brave facade and this macho or about us, when realistically there's probably things underneath that, you know, we all would like to talk about, and we should talk about. And I mean, credit to Edwin, Nico, and Crystal. You know, he creates this group of a chosen family around him, and you can see how having the right people around you really can bring these things out of you. I guess the same for Edwin's story, Crystal's story, and Nico's story. I mean, they're all these kind of lost misfits, and they come together and they bring the best out of each other.
And it filled a hole in your heart.
Mine too. Me too. I think that's actually really great. I think one of the things I love is you touched on something about emotional intelligence, and how I think there is an undercurrent of that throughout all of these characters, is about, like, there's a fantastical adventure happening, but really, like, there's an internal sort of heart of the soul kind of story for every one of these characters that I really, really connected with. So I guess we're coming to the end of our time, which kills me because I could do this all day with you guys. But aside from just being entertained and falling in love with these characters, what is it? Is there something that you would like to see audiences take away from Edward and Charles's journey?
Great question.
One of the things that's really special to me about Edwin and Charles's relationship is the depiction of love between two men. I think in terms of mainstream media, it's so often sexualized, and you know, these are two, Edwin and Charles, they love each other, and it's the nature of that love that's explored in the show. And you know, whether it's platonic, romantic, or whatever form it takes, and it doesn't necessarily need to be wrapped up with a bow by the end, but I think it's just a really interesting, unique exploration of that love that I personally, maybe I just don't watch enough TV, but I haven't seen enough or seen in media.
Yeah.
I think as well, the main message is just to talk, whether, you know, it's your friends or your partners or whatever. Communicate, like George said, and like George's mum said, communication is key. So just
take that away.
Talk about things. So
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I have to say, I'm trying not to spoil things, but there is that moment on the stairs between the two of you. And I think that in a standard narrative, there are two ways it could go, right? It could blow up the dynamic, or we could have a big romantic twist or something. But instead, there was this perfect encapsulation and example of how to approach a situation like that. Like if I don't know, I found it like deeply powerful and compassionate, and I loved it. And that it happened inside this amazing adventure is just icing on the cake. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This has been so much fun. I cannot tell you how hard I'm crossing all my fingers and toes for season 2, because I have fallen in love with the Dead Boy Detectives.
Listen, you win best dressed of the day.
100%.
We'll send
my God.
your way. Yeah.
No, I really love you.
If they write a journalist into season 2, you answer the phone.
Okay, tell them to call me. Netflix, call me.
Yeah, we call you. Yeah.
Have an amazing day, guys.